The Empire is a faction that's been in the game since Total War Warhammer 1 was released, and with it has been a lot of relatively lackluster lords. I mean, aside from Karl Franz and Boris Todbringer, the rest of the lineup is for the most part either extremely memey or has a gigantic mustache that you could probably eat an entire bowl of soup off of. And I don't know how the hell that works, because I have a mustache, and I don't have the kind of integrity that that kind of mustache is definitely going to have. I mean, holy shit. So today what I want to kind of break into is some of the other mustachio gentlemen of the Empire. I want to talk about some of the other ones. You know, Volkmar the Grim, he's great and all, we all love it, but there's a lot of really cool Empire lords that are really not in the game just yet. So today I want to talk about Kurt Helborg, the Reichmarshall of the Empire. And I feel like with the Dwarf Slayers coming out and hopefully some future goodies coming out from Total War Warhammer 1, or I'm sorry, getting revamped from Total War Warhammer 1 into Game 2, we'll hopefully get some new lords from some of these other older races and some of the other things that I've talked about in my speculation videos, as far as saying like, hey, you know, there are 7 more DLCs. They're going to eventually have to touch on old factions. I mean, not all of us can be the vampires that have every fucking possible legendary lord available to them. Which, on like a totally unrelated note, I think it'd be really cool if they made like a DLC pack for the vampires that was just like called like the Master of the Bloodlines, and it had like Abhorrash, Waswaran, Ashoran, and well, Neferata, who hopefully might be in Game 3, but still, totally huge segue, sorry, just riffing hard. But today we're going to get into, again, Kurt Helborg, the Reichmarshall of the Empire. Kurt Helborg is the captain of the Reichsguard, the Reichmarshall, and Emperor Karl Franz's most trusted military commander. Tall and strong, Helborg is the very image of a heroic general. His engraved armor is polished to a mere sheen, and his sword arm is as strong as his courage is unbending. Kurt Helborg rides into battle atop Krieglust, a massive grey gelding said to have been sired by the finest stud in the Emperor's stables. Kurt Helborg also wields the legendary Solend Runefang, a mighty artifact of significant symbolic importance. The Reichmarshal has been entrusted with this magical heirloom as a symbol of the Emperor's conviction in Helborg's ability, and so devout a warrior is he that he would sooner die than betray that trust. As captain of the Reichsguard, Helborg commands the Empire's most deadly warrior corps. When these warriors are personally led by their inspirational leader, they are an almost unstoppable force, an implacable tornado of steel that fearlessly thunders across the battlefield, driving the enemies of the Empire into the blood-soaked ground. Kurt Helborg is reputed to be the greatest swordsman in the old world, though this is an accolade hotly contested by the Emperor's champion, Ludwig Schwarzhelm. These two grim warriors are bitter rivals who regularly compete on the tournament field to answer the question of who is the mightiest warrior of the Empire. So far, honors are roughly even, though at the last meeting Helborg went slightly ahead, much to Ludwig von Schwarzhelm's chagrin. As the Reichmarshal, Kurt Helborg is also commander of all the Empire's armed forces, second only to the Emperor himself. As such, he has spent most of his life in battle, and is one of the most experienced generals in the old world. Kurt Helborg has led the Reichsguard and Imperial armies in wars fought all across the old world, from the dark forests of the Empire and icy wastes of Kislev to the blazing deserts of Araby. As a general, he is virtually without peer, leading entire armies of knights in thunderous charges of gleaming plate armor and glittering lance points. As a mighty warrior, he fights where the combat is thickest, his runefang cleaving the foe without mercy. So you can see why I would really like Kurt Helborg, and why I'm really the kind of general that enjoys taking cavalry. I mean, if I want to harken back to the days of Rome Total War 1, or Total War Rome 1, then I used to just take a Roman cavalry unit that was just filled with equites, that was just nothing but, my rider was a Rohan, and I would just have cav, and they would roll through everything. So I wish I could do that in Total War. It's not as effective because of the way the rock, paper, scissors mechanic has really developed past Total War 1, or I'm sorry, Rome Total War 1, but still, I love me my ponies. So let's talk about Kurt. It sounds really funny, I'm talking about a friend down the street or something. He's obviously a very renowned swordsman. He has a really good, lasting competition with Ludwig Schwarzhelm, and we'll go into Ludwig in our next video right after this one. But what I want to talk about here is the line also of, he is the most prestigious and best, greatest swordsman in the old world. Don't jump to many conclusions with that statement. The old world includes the old world. That means basically from Marienburg all the way over to Sylvania, and then in the north, it cuts short of Norska. So really you're just saying he's the best swordsman in the Empire and the Border Princes. So like, not that great, but kind of good. But maybe not the best. But like, widely blown out of proportion is what I'm trying to say. Because when we've talked about this before, every single fucking lord in every single book is, this is the best, most prolific and most prowess swordsman to have ever existed in the world of men and women and elves and dwarfs and greenskins. So it's like, you're going to get that with every book. So take that with a grain of salt. Taking a look at his characteristics, he only has weapon skill of 7. And for those of you that know the tabletop, you know that is, while good, it's not anything as good as a vampire blender lord who's got a weapon skill of 9, or Tyrion, I think, who has an 8 or a 9. I can't remember off the top of my head. So you've got definitely some lords out there that are better at close combat than him. So because a lot of you guys really do listen to that notion of they are the best. And you asked me a lot about that of, hey, would he beat this character? Would he beat this character? And I think that while Kurt is very strong, he would not, survive long against someone such as Tyrion or of the like, of his ilk. So let's talk a little bit about his special rules. So he is immune to psychology. He is, again, going to be a cavalry lord. So in a campaign, I would see him as having a lot of bonuses to Imperial Knights or any kind of the Reichsguard, maybe any of the I always want to say Altdorf Griffinites, which is the regiments of renown, but the Hippogriff, or I'm sorry, the Griffin Riders, that I can't think of the actual full real name of them, but still, my point is that you're definitely going to see you would see some bonuses to those units in his army, maybe some bonuses to overall morale across the army too, since he is such an iconic general, and he is known across the entire empire as being like the steadfast, mighty warrior. I think he would infer a lot of leadership benefits and a lot of public order benefits to things in a campaign scenario. But let's take a look at some of his special rules as well. So he's got the Emperor's Chosen. Whenever he joins a unit of Reichsguard units, this unit gains the immune to psychology special rule. So maybe how I would see that being used is almost like Grombendahl's ability to make the entire map immune to psychology for a little bit, or maybe just in an aura around him. Everything in his leadership aura is immune to psychology with his Emperor's Chosen ability, which is, ironically enough, his only special rule. But he does have 2 magic items, and the important thing, and the reason we talk so much about these magic items, is because these are strong candidates for campaign quests for those magic items. If it's got 0 magic items, then it's really kind of makes for a more lackluster lord. Then again, Clan Rictus is in the game, and I never would have thought we would have seen him, but still, whatever. The Laurels of Victory. Kurt Helborg is one of the most celebrated heroes in the Empire, and he wears laurels enchanted by wizards of the Grey Order. The magic within the laurels magnifies Kurt's stature in the eyes of his enemies to the point that few can muster the courage to stand before his wrath, which is just fucking awesome. So, essentially, anytime he does damage, he increases his damage. So I would see this kind of as a bonus to weapon damage, to melee attack, to an AP characteristic. So almost like the charge special, the onslaught. That's what it is. I can't remember off the top of my head again. The onslaught special rule where you click that and boom, you have a bonus to those melee attack, to that charge bonus, to that AP. I was just very similar to that, where it's increasing his ability to do damage. In the tabletop, again, each unsaved wound caused by Kurt Helborg counts as 2 unsaved wounds when calculating the combat result. So it means it kind of while it doesn't mean anything for the actual character model's wound characteristic, it means something for the after effect. So Laurels of Victory, I think, would be a negative leadership modifier to anyone in the range as well. So I think that'd be kind of a nifty little thing where rather than it kind of doing persistent damage or persistent heals or a bonus to melee attack, like you get for some other things, like say from the Fey Enchantress's Chalice, or say from Thorgrim's Book of Grudges, the Laurels of Victory maybe would just be a constant negative to leadership in the aura around Kurt, as well as a bonus to his melee attack and weapon strength maybe. Then we've got the Solend Runefang. The Empire province of Solend never truly recovered from the destruction wrought by the orc war boss Gorbad Ironclaw, and its lands have long since been absorbed by the neighboring province of Weisenland. Thus, when the Solend Runefang, which had been lost in battle, was recovered and returned to the Empire, there was no longer an Elector Count of Solend to wield it. Instead, it was decreed that the Emperor would take ownership of the magical blade. It soon became tradition for the incumbent Emperor to entrust the Runefang to the care of one of the Emperor's greatest heroes, and that honor currently sits with the Reichmarshall, Kurt Helborg. And this is essentially just the way you would assume any Runefang to be. It wounds automatically and no armor saves allowed. So this would be probably a huge bonus, almost like a heroic killing blow, if we wanted to make it an actual targetable or an actual activatable ability, not just simply a passive. If we were just making it a passive, I would say it'd be a substantial increase to, it would give you magic attacks for one. It would do AP damage again, an increase to that AP damage as well, weapon strength and melee attack. Again, very similar to Laurels of Victory. So I would look at Kurt Helborg as a very duelist lord who can get up close and personal and do tons of damage by charging headlong into the enemy on his steed, obviously. So with the Solend Great Runefang though as an activatable, I could see it again like a heroic killing blow ability where it's just a quick shot bonus to that AP, to that melee attack. Kind of turns him into a real quick like 30-second beat lord where he can just kind of take the head off of anyone he comes across. But I mean, you can see aesthetically he's this really cool lord. He kind of takes a certain kind of page out of the book of King Sobieski, one of the most prolific Polish-Lithuania kings of the old age. He had that big giant winged hussar charge into Vienna to liberate Vienna from the Ottomans. And I think he kind of is very reminiscent of King Sobieski. And I think it's really cool that he is this cavalry lord that's known for these grand charges and stuff like that. So I think that he would be a really good addition to the Empire roster, not just from the simple fact that he's an amazing sounding lord, but I like the fact that he is very different. And we don't get a true cavalry lord with the Empire, and the Empire have a really good amount of cavalry. They've got, you know, your skirmisher cavalry, your tier 1 actual heavy cav, your tier 2 heavy cav, and your tier 3 monstrous heavy cavalry. So they need kind of something, I think, that can run toe-to-toe, run in tow with those, aside from just the Karl Franz and the Boris Todbringer. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this little video here, this little vignette into the races and legendary lords of old. And hopefully you enjoy these kind of speculations of what might be coming out as far as possible lord choices or expansions onto the Game 1 races. If there's other lords you guys want to know, do let me know in the comments. We'll be definitely touching up on Ludwig Schwarzhelm. We'll do, it was actually kind of mentioned here, we'll do Gorbad Ironclaw. I've got some of the dwarfs I want to touch in as well, you know, including Josef Bugman. So if there's any of the ones that you guys want to hear about, do let me know in the comment section below. Go ahead and like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, touch my Twitter, all those kind of cool things that YouTubers try to say and should say, and I do say, and I'm saying, but you guys get the gist. But thanks for watching today, guys. Have a good one, and take care.